So you shoot USPSA, you're talking about World Speed Shoot, you do IDPA. Do you have a favorite?
Yes and no. I guess like there's different elements of all of them that I enjoy. Like IDPA, like the defensive approach to it and the scenarios and all is kind of what makes that one unique. Like the vest side of it, or well, they changed it from vest to concealment garment. Um,
It's what
but
right, it's still the same thing.
yeah, but like everybody still uses a vest because that's the
Right.
easiest thing to do, unless you're gonna shoot a division where you only have to do one reload and all. Then you could do appendix now that that's legal. Um, but I kind of wish that they would come out of the early 90s with the concealment vest stuff,
Yeah.
um, but then I like the freedom of USPSA because, it doesn't matter if you're brand new, if you're a cop out there doing it for work or in the military, or if you're just a competition guy, you can go out there and do literally whatever you want within the span of the rules in terms of like your stage plan and all. So if you
Yes.
want to shoot a stage like you're pieing through a house or something, it's kind of a free for all.
I think if I were king for a day in charge of IDPA, I would change it so that the concealment garment would only be required if the written stage brief said you had to have a concealment garment.
Yes.
And I would change it to where you can move and shoot in the open. You
hmm
do not have to stand behind a barrier. I would change those two things.
And you can do those two things because, like, they've got it to where you can either require or not require concealment per stage, but they always require it.
Right.
Um,
It's only not required if the written stage brief says not required. I would
yeah,
change it the other way around and make it not required unless the stage brief said you have to wear a concealment garment.
yeah, that would be better.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that I would change with it is how to get into nationals with the point system. And I've tried to like suggest a thing or two with that, but I think that something that would greatly benefit that would be, instead of having everybody that won, the division outright, first master, expert, sharpshooter, all the way down and stuff, high lady, high veteran, all those people. Take those 45 slots of those winners from the previous year, give them an invitation back to nationals next year. And that's 40 more open spots that you can have for nationals that following year and not have people scrambling for points or people fighting in to get a spot or somebody's having to shoot on
Mm,
Thursday rather than shoot the main match.
right. Hmm.
And I still think there's somewhere in between how IDPA does it and how USPSA does it in terms of getting into nationals that would
Yes.
probably be a better blend of it.
And
I can't visualize exactly what that would be though.
I don't either, but I have said that I think I like how in USPSA, you get the people from last year's top whatever, they automatically get an invite. I
Mhm.
like that. That should always happen. Or the other thing I like, and this is going to what you're saying, because I do think IDPA does it a little better to get into nationals.
Yes.
However, I think the best way now is if I had the decision to make, I would be like, okay, Jay Slater is going to be the official USPSA ELO or ELO ratings guy, and
Mhm.
we are going to rate the top 1,000 USPSA shooters. We're going to take the guys who get invites, come off the list, and now we have the top 450 people in the ELO rating get into nationals. They all get an invite to nationals. If 70 of them say no, then the next 70 get an invite. If
I like
25 of
that.
them say no, the next 25 get an invite. And it just goes right down the line because now it requires participation and performance
Mhm.
to get in because your ELO rating will be based particularly on the number of events you're in and how well you perform.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way. If you ask me, that is the most fair way to do a national so that you don't get people who are high level GMs on a
Mhm.
wait list. And you, for example, now there was space available. So I'm not complaining about this at all. But when I went to my first nationals in 2020, there was a woman on our squad who that was her very first USPSA match ever was
Oh, wow.
nationals. Yeah. Mike Foley came over to our table to talk to her specifically because he found out that that was her very first USPSA match ever. And but there was room available. She didn't. It wasn't like she was waiting up at 9 o'clock to hit register when it opened.
Yeah.
This is like she found out about it much later. There was space, so who cares? She didn't take anybody's spot, so no issue there. But now that's not the case. It's a fight to get into that thing when open registration begins. So
Oh, yeah.
by
Um,
doing by doing an ELO rating, which Jay is showing that his system works very well, I would literally contract with him
mhm.
with USPSA and say, "Okay, Jay, here you go. Every 3 months or every month or whatever it is, I want a new rating for us. We'll pay you so much money to keep the system going, to track all of these shooters, whatever he needs from USPSA side to get the data. I would give him that. And then when it came time, you would know once nationals opened up for registration, you know who they were. So
Right. Yeah, I like that. That might actually be the kind of the in between thing to do. It
yeah,
makes the most sense. I think probably the only downside that people would say and look at is, making sure that you're fair to everybody in all the different classification levels for each division, which I get too.
I would be like, no, no. Now, what I would say is this. This is how it balances out. In Dave's world, this is how it balances out.
Yeah.
If I'm an A class shooter and I have competed in 6 level 2, level 3 matches and I've done well, then my ELO rating or you could call it a points race if you want. You could make it a points race. My points race total is going to be better than that GM who shot 1 level 2 and wants to be in nationals. You know
True.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's how it balances out. It's not just, oh, I'm a GM and I shot a level 2, so I should be in. And maybe I won the level 2. Maybe it was a state or a section match and I won it. No, that was just one match. So what? Who cares? You know, but when it comes down to that guy or a B class, a Dave Riddle B class guy, well, then, yeah, you let that GM guy who won the sectional and not me.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
there has to be a way to parse all that out. And I'm sure there is a way.
Yeah,
You put
because
it in the competition committee's hands.
if you did if you still did like sectional slots and area slots and all and previous winter
Yes.
slots and stuff on top of doing the ELO stuff, like that'd be
Yeah,
solid.
absolutely. So I think there is a way in there. And, I really think the future is like a points race or an ELO rating or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how I came up with these top 10 ratings.
Yeah, and that
There's a
was pretty
there's a
cool.
formula involved.
Mhm.
And depending on how well you did, how many matches you were in, like top 10 at nationals, that counted, your average placement. Maybe your average finish was fifth. Well, that was your average that factored in. So all these and your average hit factor factored in. So
Mhm.
all these little things factored in, and then you break down, okay, here's your top 10. Out of the top 25 guys, here's the top 10.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
Oh, yeah.
Might need a little tweaking, but I think it's probably the fairest way to do it.
Yeah. I agree.
There was also, oh, I know what it was. I wrote down, I was like, there was something else I was going to say. The other thing I would change in IDPA, which I think they need to update, is capacity in the divisions for a
Yes.
carry optics division to have a 10 round capacity. I have a small compact, I have a gun that I carry that's a 3.64-inch barrel. It's the Canic Prime,
Mhm.
and I'm carrying 19 rounds in it. Why do I have to carry 10 in a match? Now, maybe not every gun can get that much. Maybe not everybody's putting a magazine extension on the bottom.
Yeah.
So if the average is 15 for a carry gun, then make your capacity 15.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
th- I think they're behind the times on their capacity levels too.
They are a little bit, and then the one other thing I would take away is the tactical priority and how you have to engage targets. Like, if somebody wants to engage a different way, it can be either faster or it can be slower. And that's how, like, whenever I first got started and I got to kind of see, like, the change in the sport and, like, the designs kind of start going a different way. And used to, when matches were set up, the stage designers would create it to where you could be either as risky as you want it to be and have a stage win on it or get as far ahead or whatever. But it was something that anybody that was, a distinguished master level could get away with doing something quick on, or your novice could come in and do and have options to do it. And there's not a whole lot like that that's out there anymore. Now, most stages, unfortunately, are how they create a challenge is they put a non-threat on every target array, and all that does is slow down the pace of the match. It doesn't add difficulty.
Right. It's kind of like putting partials on targets to make it at a USPSA match to make it more difficult.
Yeah.
To make it more difficult.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Hmm. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I've been shooting IDPA since I think 2019 was my first IDPA match. So I don't know anything before that.
Yeah. Yeah, like when they incorporated fault lines in 17, like that was a huge one that helped out with all of the cover calls and stuff. There's been some good direction that they've done the last few years, but there's still some stuff that one thing that I've been telling them since I think since 21 and all, put definitions in the rule book. Take the subjectivity out of all of it because that is going to completely eliminate 99% of the people that are slapping down $100 at nationals or some sanction match on a call every time.
Yeah, I have not been to a anything bigger than a local IDPA match. So I don't know, is that does that happen frequently in
Y-
IDPA?
Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
I remember that one at Cameo that first year or in 20. Um, I remember because like I said, I was on Super Squad for IDPA. So it was like me and Nils, JJ, Rob, Mike Seaclander, Mandy Bachman, Matt Sims was on it. And there's a few other people I didn't know. But I I got pulled because I still had a SO certification at the time, and the match director was a local guy here in Montgomery. So he came and pulled me to be on like the committee or whatever 2 or 3
Oh.
times and all. And they would only do that for somebody that was in a division that you weren't shooting. So that's a good ethical
Mm,
part, I thought.
right.
But like some of them were just like, somebody saying that this is a double on a target and it is clearly one bullet hole. And it's like, no, this is no way a double. Um, and then you have more, you know, ones that pointed out flaws in the rules, like JJ that year. I was on that committee. um,
Oh, were you really?
yeah, that was interesting. And the thing that I pointed out and told them was because the stage was you're seated and all, and you had to
Mhm.
draw the gun and shoot seated. And they said, well, he swept his leg. Well, IDPA at the time had the rule of you can't sweep yourself, period. And then they changed it to like lower extremities or fine or whatever. Um, but the argument that some of the people that were on the other part of the committee were trying to make was he swept himself and he's DQ'd. I'm like, yes and no. Because it doesn't matter if your gun is sitting in your holster or if it's in your hand, and whether it's loaded or unloaded, you're sweeping yourself right now, your gun in your holster. And I said, I want you to come stand right here and align my sights through the holster, and you're going to see it pointed directly at my thigh. And then, two, because there was some question between the SOs that they weren't really sure in what they saw, shooter gets benefit of the doubt.
Mm. Yeah,
So
that was a big I remember that.
it
That
was a
was
big
big on the
ordeal.
internet. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was funny because I was over there doing one committee thing and all, and I just got back to the Bay, and that had just happened, and I missed it. And then, you know, JJ was writing his appeal out and stuff. And then Seth came over there and got me for that appeal. And I was sitting there reading it and all, and I was like, oh, this is the one I just missed.
Mm.
But yeah.
Did did it affect your shooting?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Like, did you have to but so you were able to stay with your squad and keep shooting, you didn't fall behind and have to catch up?
No, like JJ's took probably about 10 or 15 minutes just because there was one guy that was trying to be like, kind of had that negative persona that, IDPA gets a bad rap for, and that, they try to penalize certain people. And he was trying to make a quote or the stance, I guess you call it, of, oh no, we can't, like, it's somebody that's very well known. We can't, you can't have an exception. I'm like, well, we're not saying an exception for anything, but you have to make an example out of them. I'm like, stop.
Mm.
If you're doing that, you don't need to be making these calls because you're in it for the competitor. Yes, you're having to uphold the rules, but you're not actively trying to, for lack of a better term, screw either the organization or the competitor over. You have to be
Right.
neutral in all of it.
It's like people I've heard of in USPSA. Like, I know that I've talked with enough people that I know there are certain ROs that are just looking to score
Mhm.
notches, with
Yeah.
DQs. So,
Yeah, and that's not cool.
no, it's not. It's not at all. If you have a legitimate disqualification, I understand. But
Mhm,
again, tie goes to the runner, and don't go looking for them. If they're going to happen, you'll see it, and
mhm.
then you make the call.
Yeah,
So, well, I mean, we're all in it to have fun and shoot and do the best that we can. They're just like you have, those types of ROs. I'm sure you have people that are gaming it to the point of cheating, and it'll be revealed.
Yeah.
You don't have to go looking for it. It'll show itself.
Oh,
So,
yeah, it does, and, like, especially, last year, they came out with a rule that was kind of about round dumping a little bit, and I've kinda wondered if they maybe geared that towards me a little bit and how I shoot CDP most of the time, but, they're saying if you are not actively shooting at a target and all, that it's a DQ. And the thing that really made that one be an issue, I think, was the year that Sal got DQ'd at Nationals over it. Um, because like the rule of like an AD or something like that saving you is like if it's at a target. And
right.
if you're just dumping rounds to get the gun empty, but it's not at a target, that's kind of the same thing as an AD not at a target.
Yeah, but it's a PD. It's a purposeful discharge.
That's right.
It's
So
not
it is in a safe
accidental.
direction.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. If you're
Mhm.
even if I will even go this far, if you can tell that someone is aiming their gun and the impacts are hitting the berm, who that's where you want them to hit, right? Who
Yeah,
cares?
and so there was one time, I can't remember which match it was, but it was some little state match I was at, and, I dumped rounds on a target and stuff, and the SO was trying to go down that route with me. I said, "Come come walk up to this target with me," and I got there. Every shot that I fired dumping rounds was on the target. I was like, "It might not be in the 0, but if I'm shooting a 12 split at this target, there's gonna be a tear in it somewhere,"
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I might have the other hits that I was doing later if I was gonna engage it later on the stage, but
I like I like it. I like their stage designs a lot of times. I like the uniqueness of it.
oh, yeah,
But there are just some rules that I'm like, man, if they just made a few rule changes, I think they would become more popular. Like
they would.
shooting on the move, a little higher capacity, stuff like that. I think they could definitely be a little bit more
They
popular.
are. Yeah,
So,
there's a lot right now that people are hung up on, like revolver or bug revolver optics and CCP optics. Like everybody wants to put a dot on everything right now. It's just like maybe later, but there's more important things right now that need to be fixed.
right. Well, let's switch gears for a minute.
Okay.
You're the alternate for the world team in classic division, so single stack.
Yep.
How was your world shoot experience?
It was a good experience. I actually like the scheduling kind of lucked up and all, and the team was shooting the same zone, but on the flight ahead of me and all every day, except for the one day that I shot in
Mm,
the morning. So, you know, there was only 7 people at the whole match shooting classic that were shooting major, and me and Jeff and Jeremy
wow.
were 3 of them. So
Wow.
yeah, and I was one of the 2 people shooting 45. So that was kind of interesting. Um,
Who was the other one shooting 45?
it was one of the ROs. He was working stage 9 in zone 2.
So what was Jeremy and Jeff shooting?
They shoot 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I would basically just go watch them and then watching Jay Lease and watching Tim shoot and seeing if there was something in between the plans maybe that I was missing that I could make work better, but also just making sure that the plans that I had in mind from, not getting to actually be on the stage yet, making sure that I wasn't gonna do something stupid. But then too, like, use there getting to support the team and all and kind of be there for them, if they needed a delegate, if they needed, help fixing gear or whatever else, getting to do that.
What about how was your trip over there? Any issues getting there or planning for oh, and he's laughing. Uh-oh.
Oh, my trip was interesting. So, me and Nils and Ben Hart were, I don't know if you would call us dumb or ignorant or what. But we all shot IDPA Nationals like within a day or two of us having to leave and be over there. So
Oh, yes. Okay.
I left Jacksonville, drove to Atlanta, and normally I'll park at one of the parking spots down the road and stuff from the airport and take a shuttle over. Well, this time, because of the ammo situation too, and the shipment not going to make it there or not, I was going to be in Dallas before we were going to find out if it was going to make it or not. So I had made a contingency plan of, okay, if this ammo shipment doesn't make it, I'm going to leave my car parked here in this garage. And if I get word that it's not going to make it, then whenever I get back, I'm going to go to my car and I'm going to grab this other suitcase that's got all of the ammo I need in it, and I'm going to take off. And I ended up having to do that. So I flew out to Dallas on Monday, shot with staff on Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning, went back to my hotel, took a shower, and drove to the airport. And somehow my return flight back to Atlanta, because I flew into Dallas Love, and then my return flight was out of the other airport in Dallas, but I was returning my rental car to Dallas Love. So, like, I don't understand how all that got mixed up. So I went to go check in and drop my bags off, and they're like, "Oh, you're at the wrong airport." I'm like, "What?" It's like, "Well, how much is another flight from here?" And they're like, "Oh, it's like $800." I'm like, "Ugh, okay."
Guess I'm going to
S
DFW then.
Yeah. So, I was like, "Okay, where's the taxis and stuff at?" So I went down there and I got a shuttle over to the DFW, and
And that was only $400, so you saved 400.
yeah, exactly. So did that, got there, got on the flight and got back to Atlanta, and I had was gonna have I landed back in Atlanta at like 7:30, and our flight to leave for South Africa was gonna take off at 10:15, I think. So I land, I go get my bags from baggage claim. I go out to my car. I had bought a different backpack while I was in Dallas and stuff because I was going to have to repack a lot of the stuff that I needed. So I put like my USPSA belt and some clothes and some other stuff in the backpack. That way I could save some room and some weight for the ammo. So I did that, come back in, check my bags in, got to the terminal and stuff, and took off. Successfully smuggled 850 rounds of 230 grain 45 to South Africa.
Ooh wee.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was heavy. um,
Yeah.
and did that. We got there and landed, and also it was uh, me, Mike Wong, Mason and Kaylee, Tim Heron was on it. Christian Seiler and his parents, Jim Boone, I think Mel Rideau, and a few other people were on that one. So we landed and we all go get our guns and stuff, and we're waiting forever for them to come out. Well, Mike and I were planning on taking it, Mike, a local guy too, and we traveled some other stuff together. Um, we were just going to carpool down the 2 hours and stuff the next morning, and got and split a hotel room and stuff that night, and all while we were still there. Well, we're standing around waiting on the bags to come out still, and I told Mike, I was like, text me or something if the bags come out. I'm gonna go over here and get the rental car and all. So I go do that, and I come back, and apparently, like, the bags came out like just right after then. So I got mine, just showed them my paperwork, and they looked at the guns like, okay, you're good. So cool. Um, One dude tried to bum us for money whenever we are getting in the car and stuff. Then Uh, they can listen to the Alex Manfield's podcast where I went through and talked about our debacle of getting from the airport to the hotel at the airport because that was comical. Mike thought that I was going to spend some time in jail in South Africa.
Oh no.
Well, it was just we told the story to Leighton and stuff after we got down there the next day, and he's like, "Yeah, they were just trying to rip you up for some money." I was like, "Okay, I was fine then."
Mm.
Um, but we drove down the next day, and basically it was a caravan between Mike and I and Joey Sauerland, and drove down there. And went to the range first and all. Did equipment check, did all that stuff, everything's good, and then left from there. And Mike and Joey were in an Airbnb, and I just did the thing that Leighton told us to do and did like the hotel, which was wrong. I should not have done that. Because doing the Airbnb stuff seemed like it was way cooler having the animals and also just like a lot more room and all. Um, and it was like the same price as the hotel. So
Oh wow.
yeah. So World Shoot's going forward, do the Airbnb. um, but then got there and then the next day or two and stuff before the match started, going out there and looking at some of the stages, doing the opening ceremonies and all that, like that was really cool to get to see because and it's really sad that, with us being in the United States and how much freedom we have in our gun laws and stuff, that other countries celebrate the shooting sports so much better than we do. Like,
It's
it's
crazy.
yeah, it's wild. Um, but did that and then, started the match.
I've always said that why our nationals award ceremony doesn't have a podium, I'll never understand. I'm not saying you have to have a parade and all that other stuff,
Yeah.
but there should be a podium for first, second, and third. Get them all up there.
Mhm.
Next division, first, second, and third. Get them all up there. You know what I mean? Like you should have
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't understand why. And they you don't and even that doesn't have to be extravagant, you know.
No.
So
Well, I mean, there's
yeah, I
not
don't
much that's really extravagant about our banquets now, you know?
no.
I mean, that's just one small detail you could add in.
Yeah, but I think it would make a big difference,
Oh, yeah.
to get everybody up there at one time,
Mhm.
third place, Carry Optics, Joe Snuffy, second place, so and so, first place, everybody claps, he gets up there, and then
Yeah.
you give them all their fake, first, second, and third place things, and you get a picture, and then okay, go back and sit down now, you
That's
know.
right.
But it's still nicer than just coming up and nothing,
Oh,
nothing.
yeah. That's true.
But here, we'll take a picture, a handshake with this fake thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it could be a little better. It's a little that's the part that disappointed me the most at nationals was like, why isn't there a podium to stand on? So oh well,
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah.
So well, hopefully, I would think that in 2029 there won't be any animals running around, being that it's Italy. I mean, if you're seeing giraffes and zebras and lions in Italy, there's a problem. There's a big problem.
Yeah. That or it's a really cool zoo.
Yeah. Well, the zoo just got, comp or there was a breakout because you shouldn't have animals on the loose like that in Italy. So I assume your plan is to go back to World Shoot in Italy, 29?
Yes, that is the plan. You know, 100% the goal is classic again, making the team this time. But I'm I've gone back and forth on what I want to do for the other division, and then two, if you're really good, you could potentially qualify for three now.
What do you mean 3?
So, in years past, it's been your best 3 of 4 qualifiers, and
Right.
if you jam out, you know, 2 good ones or 3 or however many, depending on how the nationals are sectioned out because of, if production or limited is separate and all, and then you alternate what you shoot at IPSC nationals and stuff that next year, then you could potentially qualify for 2. And we had that situation a lot because you had like, Mason or
And
Niels or
Nils.
JJ that could have either been production optics or they could have been production, you
Right.
know, and you had Jacob in that mix too. And so
Yeah.
there was all that. And then, but now that you've got 2 more qualifiers that you can do on top of that, got even
Yeah.
more potential.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather just one big nationals, but that's me. And then
That's kind of
people
me
pick
too.
and choose. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's the way it should be. But things are the way they are.
Yeah.
Um, I do think PCC should be a standalone. Just pull it out, have it its own nationals, and then maybe a pistol nationals, a PCC nationals, and a multi gun, and
So
do it
we were
that way.
actually looking at that last night. So apparently next year there's supposed to be a PCC World Shoot qualifier.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's good to see. Separated out
Yeah.
from nationals a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there, well, but is that going to be a PCC nationals, or is that just you're shooting PCC at nationals? You know what I
I think
mean?
it Yeah, I think it's supposed to be something different from the way it reads, but, because PCC and IPSC is, was it mini rifle or whatever? Or maybe it's called
Yeah.
PCC, I don't remember.
It's PCC. Mini rifle is actually part of the rifle world
That's
shoot.
right, yeah, but
I think that's their 22 caliber
that's
at
right,
right
that's right,
at
yeah,
rifle
I
world
remember
shoot.
talking about that now.
Yeah, because you've got handgun world shoot, you've got shotgun world shoot, rifle, and PCC now.
Mhm,
But since they separate PCC from pistol, I've been saying it. We should do the same because I don't think you really challenge them the way they need to be challenged.
no,
So I think it's a little on the easier side. And I think you would, even though you'd get a lot of pushback initially,
mhm.
I think you're doing everybody a bigger service by pulling it out and being making it more technical and more challenging to prepare for like a PCC world shoot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely you would.
I mean, they're shooting out typically further distances and doing different things. So I think that would be the way to go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There was something I was going to ask you, and dang it, I didn't write it down.
World shoot related or division related?
Sure. Now I don't remember. But it's been one of those questions that for the last like 15 to 20 minutes I've been like, what was that question again?
Oh, no.
Because because it was something you said, and I was like, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And then I just totally forgot what it was because I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
So you say you're not getting out of this. You're probably going to be in this for the long haul. I know you train. What do you do in your real job when you're not shooting? What is that? Is that your
So
training company?
no, so and
Okay.
I don't want to get into where I'm doing the training, like, as my actual job just because I feel
Okay.
like that's gonna be and I feel like it's gonna be a point to where it's just gonna really wear me down, and it's gonna make it bit where I don't enjoy it near as much, you know?
Right. Kind of burn you out. Yeah.
Yeah, now, like, would I love to do, like, the pro shooter life and stuff and that be my career? Absolutely, but no, I am a, occupational and safety and health professional for the Honda manufacturing plant here in Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's very technical.
A little bit. Because when I was in community college, I was studying a few different things, and then whenever I wanted to do my bachelor's and all, and transferred, um, like all of the degrees and stuff that I got and I was doing, like they all just really meshed together for the environment that I'm in there. So
Is your degree in that type of a thing, or did you get a degree in something completely different?
it's in that type of thing, but I've also got like 4 degrees.
Okay.
So community college, I did. It's called electrical engineering technology, but really what it is like being an electrician, whether it's in an industrial environment or whether it's residential.
Okay.
And then the other one for that was industrial automation, learning how to troubleshoot equipment, learning how to set equipment up, and all that kind of stuff. And then when I transferred and was doing my bachelor's, I was going to do the electrical side of it, but they had the name of the program was something way different that I would have even thought to look for. But I saw occupational safety and health, and I was reading the description on it, and I was like, that sounds pretty interesting. And one of the first classes that I had was ergonomics, and learning how the body moves, learning how you can, implement things to where people are working in better postures and all. And then a lot of that stuff like kind of key in some things in the shooting side with me. And I was like, you know, this stuff sounds pretty interesting. And looking at it from a shooting standpoint, I was like, I want to be able to do this until the day I die. You know, I was like, this is going to be a lot better on my body than it is going to be pulling wire and bending conduit and doing all that other stuff and all. So I was like, this is a no brainer. So my bachelor's, I did occupational safety and health management and then manufacturing management.
Okay. So yeah, that fits perfect then.
hmm Yeah,
And then
because
the other
like
stuff you did before works right in with the Honda automation stuff.
yeah, and like that's the
Yeah.
thing that really helps too, because like whenever you're doing risk assessments on equipment and you're trying to visualize in your mind how stuff works and all, like in terms of like safety controls or just the layout in general, like it really helps you grasp it a whole lot better. And
Okay.
then too, it also helps you with, and how somebody could potentially defeat a safety device, you know?
Right. Do you have to deal with MSDS sheets all the time?
Well, we don't do the sheets and stuff anymore. Like everything that we've got now, you can find online. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, they're still sheets. They're just not paper.
yeah,
Yeah. They're digital.
yeah.
Okay. I remembered what it was. I was writing
Okay.
it down while you were talking. So you mentioned earlier, I mean, you had to you smuggled 850 rounds of 45 into South Africa,
Yeah.
which we won't tell anybody.
That's fine.
Um, yeah, it's a secret, just between the two of us.
Yeah.
But I had his episode hasn't come out yet, but by the time this one comes out, it will be out. Thomas, I'm gonna make sure I get this right. Luzuriaga from the Philippines.
hmm
He was also classic. He was seventh at World Shoot.
He was on my squad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had
He
him on.
he is insane.
And you know
So
what the sad part is though?
he wasn't on the team. He was an
Not only
individual.
yeah, but here's the crazy thing. That dude is the epitome and it'll already be out. So this will be old news now. But he's the ultimate casual shooter.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
Like,
the
cause
dude
it
barely
was,
practices.
yes, like,
He
cause
hasn't
it
shot in
was,
3 months.
you're right. Well, like, I kind of hit it off with him and stuff that first day that we were shooting because, like they told us to bring squad gifts and all that. And my squad gift I gave everybody is like, I just got them all Nighthawk cats, because I know foreign
Okay.
countries and stuff like with the cost and the imports and all that stuff, like Nighthawk guns are probably something that they see and that they like, but might not can afford because of the tariffs.
Yeah, sure.
But he and I were actually got to talking about that. and stuff. And it was pretty interesting, but, I ended up sitting there talking to him a lot, throughout the stage of that match, and, like, his mom and his dad and stuff was there, like, filming him and all, but we get to the end of day 3, and, like, he's between Jeff and Jeremy in the results, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like and I'm telling Tim because Tim and I are going to dinner about every night and stuff after the match, and he's, like, staying and watching me and stuff after I get done watching the team shoot, and I'm like, "Jeremy needs to get on it, you need to get on it," and, you know, Jay Lease was struggling with the ankle thing, I'm like, "I'm really hoping that she can pull this out for her too," um, I was like, "Jeff better watch his back." It's like, this kid is slinging it,
Yeah.
and it was insane to watch, and then, like, he was pushing a little too hard on that last day, and it bit him.
Mm, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, but here's the question I was getting at.
Mhm.
I said to him, I was like, I asked him, I said, "You know Tim Herron?" He goes, "Yeah, I met him." I said, "Okay." I said,
Yes.
He when he got to South Africa, I said he was like, "Oh, we should have shot Major because this match is good for Major power factor." And Thomas was like, "Yes, I agree."
Mhm.
I said, "What about you? Do you wish you had shot Major?" And he said, "No, I'm just going to shoot 9. It doesn't matter." So that's what I was gonna ask you. Do you think you'll continue shooting 45 or do you think you'll shoot 9 going forward? It seems like everybody or a
Yeah,
lot, not everybody, but a lot of people are moving more and more to 9.
yeah, and for me and for how I shoot, and every time that somebody asks me, there has been more times where I was like, whenever I was still shooting minor a lot, um, that I wish I had a major gun. But there has never been a time where I was shooting major that I wish I had minor.
Not even for the capacity, huh?
Nope. And that's the thing too. Everybody talks about capacity, and really the only thing that capacity can get you, and it's rare depending on the stage, you know, it can make an 8 round position be more giving on it,
Right.
especially if they're still in it. Or if there's something where you can pick up another target and make it a 10 round position and save yourself a reload, sure. But oftentimes than not, it's not hard to find a place to jab an extra load in there.
Okay.
And
You
somebody he he's only shot 2 nationals, but somebody that was around here that used to be in it pretty hot and heavies, Ethan Howell was his name. Whenever Mike Wong was still coming up in the rankings and stuff, that is who Mike and Ethan would be back and forth at each other all the time. Um,
okay?
but his first nationals, I think Ethan finished 10th and Mike finished 11th or 12th. And that was the last year they had race gun at Frostproof. And then the next year, I think both of them cracked into the top 10 a little bit better. Um, but Ethan talked before because he's a GM in 5 or 6 divisions. Um, but he talked about, shooting major in a division that also allows minor is a 30% advantage whenever you step out of the car. Now, I think that's more realistic to open division, and it can get a little bit smaller in numbers whenever you start going to like limited or just single stack or something like that. I think really the only division to where major is a super duper hindrance is going to be Revo.
Mm, okay. Just yeah, that capacity that's an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that being said, last year, a lot of the training that I did with a 9 mil gun and all. And then I kind of took a Eric Gaffel trick there and, you know, if I got a week or 2 out from whatever match I was doing, then I'd switch and I'd pick up the major guns, just to save my hands. Um, but that helped me a lot. But I am kicking around the idea of doing more minor stuff this year, which I'm doing more stuff in LO side this year, and I did a lot in it last year too. So I'm really debating it, even though it's like I don't know. But like my testing and stuff that I've done last year leading up to World Shoot, I would basically go out to a training session and I would take a major gun, I would take a minor gun, and I would take my LO gun. And I would shoot all three in comparison and take the LO gun and see what was just absolutely maximum possible and try to figure out how to get the single stack guns down to that time or as close to it as you could get it without, the if it was something static, ammo capacity or something like that coming into play. So I could shoot the same splits, get the same hits on target with major or minor. But because of the major, points work out. And it's by like, you know, a half of a hit factor or something, and over the course of 14 to 23 or 24 stages, that's going to add up.
Yeah, I what I have found is so I've crunched a lot of numbers for
Mhm.
this decade, and I've actually well, let me ask you this first. Would you consider yourself a fast shooter or an accurate shooter? If you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
In years past, I would say more accurate just because, like, coming from the IDPA side of it and all that was where a lot of my speed was probably lost because I was afraid to drop points, well, once I figured out actually. But then whenever I spent like nearly 2 years trying to really hammer down on speed, like, it got to where it's normal to go back and practice score and look through the results for a stage and see 12 and 14 and whatever splits and stuff on there. So, I'd say that it's kinda changed around to faster now, but in the last year or 2, um, aside from the pace of shooting, I guess you call it, like, I've really worked more on trying to figure out how to use my size to help me, get around and through a stage a lot better because that was something that I recognized for a long time that I wasn't taking advantage of, like my long stride to get through a stage. So, really kind of working on that and paying more attention to like Mason and Niels and Jacob, and how they just get around a stage, like that helped me a lot.
Okay, watching and see how they do it.
Mhm.
Okay,
And
let
then kind of
me.
like figuring out how I could apply that to my own, you know, build and how I shoot and all that stuff. And that's part of the equation for most things in shooting. People will look and they want to see what other people do and they try to mimic it, but they don't figure out how to make it work for what they do.
Right. Do you feel sometimes your height is a disadvantage?
Actually, no.
Okay.
Like I'm not scared of low ports.
Well, but you also talked about stride.
Mhm.
And I feel like they're somewhere in that 5'10" to 6 foot. It would be an optimal height for everything and stride,
Pretty much, yeah.
where you could stretch out your stride, but yet if you had to, shorten it, it's not as awkward as it would be for someone with a longer leg and a bigger stride, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Because
So go ahead.
because really because really, like, the thing that helps out with the height is especially if you've got a tight lean or something like that, being able to kinda lean out a little bit more helps. Or if you've got a stand and shoot stage, or well, I say a stand and shoot, if you basically got a shooting area that ain't but like maybe 5 foot wide or something, you're talking about 2 steps compared to somebody else's six.
Okay. Let me I got to move this. All right, it did it again. You disappeared right off my screen again.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna look. Oh, that wasn't even the one that I wanted.
Oh, no.
So, I looking at last year's single stack
Mhm.
nationals. I would say that you are a more accurate shooter over being a fast shooter because of the top 10, you had the slowest overall time.
Well, and there's a reason for that. So, on day
Okay.
3, um and it breaks my heart still. Um, 5 of the last stages that we shot on day 3, I had gun problems, and I didn't know what was going on with it, but I had my backup gun that I had just gotten, and, like, it was not the backup gun was not quite working reliably yet, and all it was, like, the barrel fit on it was just a little bit tight to where the slide wouldn't shut all the way, and I
Okay.
really didn't wanna risk that, and when I was sitting there thinking about switching guns, I was like, "Do I really want Shooting USA or somebody to be here and, you know, see, oh, he was shooting a silver gun now. Oh, now he's shooting a black gun. Oh, the black gun's not working now." It's like, you know,
Mm.
and Dialhawk appreciated that too, but what it was is the first stage we shot was like just a stand and shoot speed shoot. The next one was like this short course that was pretty quick. Well, I went into the first position of that short course and I had a dead trigger. Hammer was back,
Oh.
but I was sitting there just smashing on the trigger as hard as I could, and the gun wouldn't go off. Well, I went to go break my grip and just look at the gun and see if there's something going on that I wasn't seeing. And right before I brought the gun down, it went off. And I'm like, okay, like keep going. And it just kept doing that throughout the stage. And I'm like, that's weird. So I went at Safe Air and I looked at it and like I couldn't tell that there's anything wrong with it, and I couldn't get it to mimic it just sitting there dry firing it. So I was like, maybe there's just some piece of junk in it or something, and it came out. We go on and it does it again. Crap. And it does it 4 more times. I'm like, shoot.
Oh, wow.
So I'm mad. I'm fuming at this point. and and I get back home and go to my gunsmith local here, and I'm telling him what it's doing and stuff. And we go back and we're shooting it and we get it to do it. And he's sitting there looking at it and it's like, it's the trigger bow. I'm like, what? And we go in and we take it apart, take the trigger bow out, and the shoe came loose from the bow. And talking to Tim about it, apparently that's a break that can happen, but it's super rare. So trigger shoot 1911 and 2011 trigger shoes and bows are put together one of two ways. They're either like basically hard pressed in there, or they've got like a tack weld on them. Well,
Okay.
however that one was, it broke. And what it was doing every time I would pull on the trigger, it had both vertical movement, but it was also pivoting on there. So it
Mm.
was wedging against the inside of the trigger guard every time. So whenever I was sitting there just still cranking on it, it was just wedged. And then whenever I would let off of it a little bit, it would straighten out and go off.
Wow.
Yes. So that is where my time is tied up at. And that's also where about 4 positions in the overall is tied up at.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was not happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. Holy cow.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. Joey won nationals last year in classic with a
Hmm.
minor power factor gun.
First one to do it.
Yeah. But not the first one to win a major power factor scoring division, a
Right.
major scoring division with a minor scoring gun.
Right.
Um, but 6 of the 10 were minor. And that
Mhm.
doesn't make you want to swap it out, huh?
I'm really thinking about it just because, like, the stage designs now are everything's geared towards an optic now, and having some extra rounds in the gun can help with that, but I couldn't tell you the last time that I shot a minor gun in a match, like a sanctioned match or
Mm,
anything, and
right.
it's been years, but, like, whenever I shoot it in practice, like, it is so much easier to hold the A's on, and that's what and still, like, keep the cadence with it too. So that's what's really got me kind of sitting there and thinking about it more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so Bob Crow was second,
Mhm.
and he had a major, his overall hit factor. He did not have it. Well, I don't know. I could be wrong. He could have a procedure, but I'm going to assume he did not have any procedure. So his aggregate hit factor for the entire match in major power factor was 6.429.
Mhm.
And when I converted that to minor, it was a 5.879. So about 0.55 hit factor lower,
Mhm.
but it didn't really change. I mean, Joey was 5 seconds slower, five
Which
almost 6 seconds slower than Robert, but he's still um, won with a higher power factor.
well, and Joey had some problems too shooting a borrowed gun, like, the first day or 2, like, it wasn't working right, and he was having some issues, but, um,
Okay.
he would have a little bit more back in his time, so the gap may have been a little bit more there, but
Okay. He, but he also had 37 more alphas
Mhm.
than Bob. You know what I mean? So this is that conversation I had with Tim last month where is it points or is it time? And there's a balance, you know?
Right.
In some cases it's speed, in other cases it's points. But he had fewer penalties, he had more alphas, fewer deltas, fewer charlies, that whole thing. So he made up for the difference. But what I found interesting was so Jeff Cawthon was fifth.
Mhm.
When I converted it to minor, he dropped 2 places to seventh,
Mm.
and two people moved up. So no, Michael Danchik and Maximus White both jumped over him, and he dropped to seventh.
Mm.
I thought it was interesting when I started converting things from major to minor. It really, it really showed to me how major rewards. Please don't take this the wrong
Oh, no,
way.
no,
It's
sloppy
just the
shooting.
word. It does. Yes,
Yeah.
it rewards exactly that.
Mhm.
Whereas, minor does not. But let me throw one more thing out there. Here is something that I think, going back to being king for a day, in um, USPSA, I wouldn't change it for the current year. But what I would do this year is I would run two standings concurrently. I would do one normal, major, minor the whole way.
Mhm.
And then I would do one that was all minor and aggregate hit factor. Well, what do you mean aggregate
Hmm.
hit factor, Dave? So you don't get stage points. There are no stage points. Zero. You shoot a 20 stage match, you get 0 stage points. What you get is a hit factor on every stage, but it all becomes one big aggregate. So at the end, you have your total time minus all of your penalties, and then you get all of your points. So in this case, I'll use Joey. He had 1,680 alpha points.
Mhm.
He had 201 Charlie points, 3 Delta points because he only had 3 Deltas,
Yeah.
Then he lost 30 points because he had 3 mics. So you lose, 10 penalty points for each one.
Yeah.
That's a total of 1,854 points divided by, where's his time? 301.98 seconds gives him an aggregate hit factor of 6.139. That would be your score. Then you would get a
Mm.
percent, or everybody would just fall in line based on what their total hit factor was. That's what
Yeah.
I would do also. I would get
Yeah.
rid of stage points.
So you're basically just taking all of the stage points and all the penalties and all that stuff, taking the more complex looking math that you see in the results, putting that in the background, and then putting a simple smaller number out there like an aggregate hit factor out there to be. I like that.
Yep. So now you're not worried necessarily about stage points. Oh, I have to win this stage. You just, again, you need to be consistent.
Hmm.
But I also found here's what everybody will like that shoots major power factor. I have found that it rewards speed over points.
It can. It definitely
It
can.
In all the numbers I've run, that's the trend that I saw.
I've had somebody that local that has done a lot of single stack stuff back in the day, and they said that if you're shooting single stack major, I it's stage and match dependent and all, but it said typically
Yes,
you can average a delta a stage. You know, granted that all your other points are not bad and stuff, and typically be okay. Like, I don't know. That's giving up a
there
lot.
there is one person who just, if it changed to an aggregate hit factor, he would almost be impossible to beat. As long as he didn't have any mechanical issues or any major errors, Christian Seiler would almost be unbeatable. And here's why. When I took Race Gun Nationals last year and I broke the numbers down, he won. If you did an aggregate hit factor, okay, this is aggregate hit factor. He won by 0.57. Okay, it's
Mhm.
more like 0.569, but 0.57. When you convert it to minor and do aggregate hit factor, it jumps to 8.2.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was like, oh, because he's the fastest guy out there and he's the most accurate guy out there.
Yeah.
So he literally tops both. He was 8 seconds faster than number 2 at Race Gun Nationals, and he was the only guy who had more than 80% alphas, and it was 85. So he was 8 seconds faster and 85% alphas. That is crazy.
And that's going to make a race between him and Eric or somebody else like that
Yes.
that much more interesting.
Yes. That's why I was so disappointed when he had the optic failure
Yeah.
at Carry Optics Nationals, because I was like, those are the two guys right now.
Hmm.
Those are them.
Which I
So
don't I don't know if you paid attention to it or not at Extreme, but Eric was shooting optics division LO in IPSC now, and Jacob was shooting production optics, you know, round count difference there. Jacob was beating Eric on day one and day two of that match pretty handily until he got some penalties on day three.
I did not. I did not know that.
Yes.
I did not follow that. So
Like, I was sitting over there
wow.
and I'm like, come on, Jacob, come on.
Wow, now here's the thing, because when Thomas and I were talking, I said that your two I'm taking Christian out of the picture here,
Hmm.
but your two fastest shooters are Jacob and Edsel Gino.
Hmm. Yeah.
They're like neck and neck on time, and they're always faster than everybody else.
Hmm.
The problem is, and I haven't posted any of those yet, but when you look at the graphs of the average finish on a stage. I mean, Edsel and Jacob are much more peaks and valleys.
Mhm.
You know, if Jacob could bring those peaks down a little bit lower, yeah, man, he would be giving Christian a run for his money in whatever division because he can shoot, but his accuracy is not as good. Even though his speed's a little better, he loses a little bit too much in his point. And look, this is all. I'm not a world champion. I'm not a national champion, so this is not a criticism of anybody. This is just someone who. It's kind of like. Did you hear about? Did you ever watch that money or that movie called Moneyball
Yeah.
in baseball?
Mhm.
It's kind of looking at the shooting sports like that. Let's just look at the numbers and what do the numbers tell us? Well, this is what the numbers say. There's no lying, there's no personal input. You know, it's just these are what the numbers are saying. And
Yeah.
looking at all of that stuff, I was like, I after doing all of those numbers, I was like, I would do an aggregate hit factor. I think it's a more accurate representation of the shooter and their skill than the doing stage points because it punishes you for going fast and not being necessarily as accurate. Whereas if you just do a hit factor from 1 to 20 on every stage and then do an aggregate of that, a total, that's a much better representation of the shooter, I think.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
So it would be interesting, if you have a mechanical problem, it's going to hurt you more. But,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
mean, can it hurt you more than what it hurt Morgan and Christian at Nationals? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Neither one of them, they were both favored to be right at the top, and neither one of them made it there
Yeah.
because they both had optic failures the same day. Did you hear about Morgan's at that
I didn't
match?
hear about hers. Huh.
So she's shooting in the middle of the stage. The glass falls out of her SRO, just
Oh, God.
fell right out. So she had I think she said she had 8 misses or it was something crazy. I mean, I could be way off there, but my point is that it just obliterated the stage score. I think she said basically
Man.
she zeroed it out. So her match competitively was over, but she fought back to third in the ladies.
That's
Yeah.
wild. Because
That's like,
I know Factory Gun last year that Garen Singleton, he had his I think he had both his Shadow 2 and an optic crap up on him at different times, and it was on the
oh,
first day, and he had to, like, really scramble and ended up buying another SRO or something while he was up there and all to finish and get through the match. But, yeah,
dang.
it's yeah. That's one thing that I don't like about LO is it's another factor in there
It
to
is.
break and all with it
But
being an optic, but, like,
Brady,
it
how
goes
many
against part of
times how
go
many
go ahead.
times have you heard of someone's front sight post falling out?
Yeah, well, I had that happen one time earlier last year, but I was shooting LO, and I got to my last stage, and I looked down at my gun and my, Everglades, and I'm like, "Um, that
I'm
sight's
missing
about to
something.
fall off." Yeah, and I literally just I reached over and I grabbed it, and I'm like, "Oh, well, good thing I'm going for a visit here in a couple weeks."
Yeah, so I mean, stuff like that happens. That's my whole point. Whether it's an optic or a front side post or,
Mhm.
a broken trigger.
Yeah.
Who would, you know what I mean? Like just rare crap that happens. I've only had one optic come loose on a gun,
Mhm.
and it was spinning around on the top of my slide.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
and I'm like, that had to have been me. I mean, I don't know. I don't, but that was,
Probably yeah, probably the wildest one I saw was, every now and then I'll go over to Georgia and shoot River Bend. Um, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was shooting a stage over there at a local, and their optic came off the gun in mid recoil on the first shot on target. Second shot, they shot the optic.
I think I
That was
saw that.
that video and the slow-mo on that was great
Yes.
because you just see
I
that
mean,
optic go. Poof.
And it's like, what literally, I don't know that you could come up with the odds of that.
Yeah.
It's gotta be less than getting struck by lightning.
Well, and, like, that's the thing that I've kinda come to learn, especially after I broke that trigger, is, you know, competitive shooters will find a way to break things, not even doing it intentionally, but
No,
just through use, you
just through
know?
use. Yep,
And,
not even
like
being harsh on it.
right, and, like, that's the thing, like, we shoot so much and we like and that's why I would really like to have a set of match guns and a set of practice guns, that way I can just go ham in practice and not worry about it. Um, but it doesn't matter if you're shooting a TSOS or a Springfield, or if you're shooting an MPA or a Nighthawk or whatever else. At some point, there's wear parts on everything, and you're gonna
Yes.
have a malfunction in there.
Yes,
And
I
that's what,
agree.
a lot of people see, "Oh, this Infinity had a malfunction. Oh, no, they make bad stuff." No, everybody
Nope.
makes good quality stuff, and everybody has their own differences and stuff. The difference is when you see something fail, that's somebody that either, 1, they use their stuff how it needs to be used, and it's not a
Yep.
safe queen, or they might just be a little bit ill prepared on maintenance, you know? And sometimes the 2 kind of can combine and unfortunately be at nationals.
Because you can't tell me that a Bentley and a Lamborghini don't have mechanical problems.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. It's still a
And
mechanical item. Something's going to fail. It doesn't matter.
yeah, that's right.
I mean, my Ford Expedition, when we finally got rid of it, had 310,000 miles, and
Mhm.
it didn't have anything crazy ever happen to it. Then, but over time, things just as they aged, they had to be replaced. And when we finally got rid of it, it was like, okay, things are starting to, like, seals are going bad and other stuff, but it's 20 years old and it has 310,000 miles. How
Right.
much money do we want to sink into this thing now? Why don't we just get rid of it? We'll get a new one and have it for another 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
It
right.
happens to everything.
It does, and, and that's the thing, like, whenever somebody starts bashing a different gun company for it, I'm like, "Whoa, slow down." First off,
Right.
that's wrong because you don't seem like you have a comprehension of how this company builds their guns, and which granted, every company's different, whether it be something on the lower end, that's more quantity-based min parts, whatever the case may be, or whether you have something custom that is full-blown start to finish, hand fit custom parts made in house, whatever, or if you have something in that semi custom line that's using, EGW, extreme engineering, whatever, you know, everything is going to get there at some point.
Yep.
And it's just a matter of how much you use it and when it's going to happen.
And let's be honest, whenever you have an optic on the slide, that thing is taking a beating.
Hmm.
Hundreds of times in a match, it's taking a beating.
Yes.
So, and then in training, or practice, all of that. So, yeah, eventually something's got to give somewhere.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I 100% agree. I would say this: the guns that aren't being used in competition are the ones I would avoid.
Yes.
Because if they're
Like, I
being used
haven't
in competition, then people are like, okay, I trusted to shoot it. It's good. You're
like,
good.
I haven't seen somebody show up to nationals with a yeet cannon yet, so
You know what? Someone's going to listen to this podcast and show up at one because of you.
I really hope so, that'd be so great.
Oh, that's
Oh,
funny.
goodness.
That is
Yeah.
hilarious. That's like that age old argument. You've got to have a certain gun to win,
Yeah.
and then you have Nils winning with Canics, and then you
Mhm.
have Shane and other people winning with Glocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Vogels and the Coleys. So it's like, no, it's the shooter. If you learn
Yes.
how to shoot, you can win.
Yeah.
So
Well, because like, I've talked about it before with a few different people, and specifically, like, when you're talking single stack, and it's not something that you say to because there's a very fine line between cockiness and confidence, you know.
Yes.
But there's this is more on the side of just, not cockiness, but it just kind of showing, and it talks more about the equipment race and also, the Indian, not the arrow. But if you're proficient enough, then it doesn't really matter what kind of a gun you have, that, you can come out on top. But I've talked a lot with folks before, like whenever I was still shooting my little uh, Springfield operator and stuff in 9 mil and stuff, and talking to other people that's done the same thing with their different lower end guns, it was like, it's really cool to go show up with your $900 single stack and just go break the hopes and dreams of people shooting a, $8,000 custom gun. Like, there's some fun in that, or, especially like the people that talk about rant and rave over like their open gun or something like that, and it doesn't work because it's something that's stupid finicky or whatever. But like that kind of stuff, there's a certain humor in it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Brady, that was everything I had. Was there anything you wanted to talk about,
Um,
or something I had said earlier and you didn't get a chance to respond to?
um, I don't think so. If I did, I forgot.
You didn't write it down.
No.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a great conversation.
I really appreciate you having me. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to do it again sometime. We'll let you go win something else and then we'll talk some more.
Hey, you let me know when. I'm ready.